Hey everybody! Today I will give you a detailed overview over all the DLCs, what they do, and which ones you should buy, and which ones you might want to buy but only on a sale, and which ones you can pretty much avoid because they don't add that much to the actual game. Currently there is a sale on Steam until the 1st of November, which gives 50% off most DLCs, and yeah, so maybe if you wanna buy a DLC, now might be a good time to do that. Also on the cosmetic DLCs, but you know, who needs those? I don't. Jeez, that's a lot. I will cover all the content adding DLCs, and I will be starting with the oldest DLC. The first DLC had been released on the 14th of January 2014 and was Conquest of Paradise. This DLC added 4 main features, however 2 of those have actually been made available to people who do not own the DLC. Should you decide to buy this DLC, you will be able to create a randomized new world each time you start a new save. Woo, yay! You will also have access to an expanded Native American gameplay, which allows you to create federations, have unique ideas, buildings, and allows you to migrate. Are these 2 options worth $15? Probably not. Should you get it when it's on sale? Maybe. You really don't have to, unless you like to play in the new world and also like the excitement of having a randomized new world, but it really doesn't add that much else apart from that, so it's probably not worth it that much. So definitely don't buy it for the full price, and if you really want it, you should wait for a discount. The second DLC was released on the 29th of May 2014 and was called Wealth of Nations. This DLC has 5 main features. The first one allows you to create trade conflicts against other nations, but to be honest, at least I rarely ever use that. So the second feature allows you to hire privateers that will steal trade from your competitors in a trade node. This can be really fun and also give you a good amount of money. I personally don't use it that often, but it can definitely be fun. The third feature allows you to move your trade capital and also strengthen your trade. This can be extremely helpful if you are moving your trade capital to a wealthy trade node, which can really increase your income by quite a bit. This DLC also improved trading in inland nodes, mainly by allowing merchants to be placed in inland trade nodes, which give a increased bonus of your country's trade efficiency. And finally, this DLC allows you to establish East India companies. However, if you don't feel like this was convincing enough of a packet, but would still like to be able to establish East India companies, there will be a DLC later which will also allow you to do just that. Considering that this DLC is cheaper than Conquest of Paradise and adds more features to the game, I think it is worth to buy this one, especially because trade can, first of all, be a lot of fun to play around with, and secondly, it's just really important overall, and if you like to play nations on the coast, then you're gonna have a lot of fun with this one. The third DLC was released on the 16th of July 2014 and is called Publica. It's also one of the generally cheapest DLCs, ranging just around $5. Normal price. This DLC focuses on giving new and unique mechanics to merchant republics and elective monarchies, for example Poland and Lithuania, and also the Dutch Republic government, which is exclusive to the Netherlands. Publica also adds the Republican dictatorship, which acts as a middle ground between republics and monarchies. And lastly, this DLC adds national focuses, foci, whatever the plural of that word is. However, national focuses will also be unlocked with another DLC if you decide to rather buy that one than this one. I would probably recommend this DLC because it is the cheapest gameplay DLC, ranging just around $5 normal price, and oftentimes it's on sale where it's, yeah, around $2 or $3, maybe even just one and a couple. So yeah, it's definitely cheap, and especially if you like to play with republics or in the Dutch and Benelux region as a whole, I think you're gonna have quite a bit of fun with that, because it does add quite a bit of nice flavor to the Dutch Republic, to the Dutch nations, and just to republics as a whole. The next DLC was released on the 30th of October 2014 and is called Art of War. This DLC adds quite a couple of new mechanics, which are really nice. First of all, the main feature of this DLC is that it adds the religious league war. Especially if you like to play in Europe, this can be not only really entertaining to watch, but also be quite influential in its outcome. It can not only change who the current emperor is and who will be able to become emperor in the future, but it will also likely change the dominant religion in Europe for the coming decades, if not centuries. The second main feature of this DLC is that it adds the revolution. The target of the revolution is usually chosen around the mid to late 1700s and will get a bunch of bonuses. However, for those on the other side, destroying the revolution target can also have some nice benefits. Another feature of this DLC is that it allows you to give instructions and orders to allied AI controlled armies. And it also allows you to switch the occupation of certain provinces and indicate your interest so that the AI will hopefully switch them over to your control. It also allows you to set up army templates so you can build an entire army with just one click. And the last feature is that it allows a new type of vassal, which is the March. You're not able to annex the March directly, and the March doesn't pay any taxes, but a March provides a stronger military than a vassal would, if you're into that kind of stuff. This DLC also adds a bunch of new CBs and peace deal options. Would I recommend this DLC? Yes, definitely. It's probably one of the, if not the most important DLC for this game. So religious league war and the revolution at the end of the game alone would probably be reason enough to buy this DLC. But adding to that the ability to finally tell your allies, your AI allies, what they should do and allow you and allow them to flip over the occupation of certain provinces to you, that's just, it's so freaking helpful. It really is a pain if you don't have this DLC. To be honest, it is a shame that these mechanics are not in the base game, for sure. But yeah, we just gotta live with that for now. Maybe they'll add this to the free features at some point. Would be really nice. Paradox, please. Please do it for the love of people who don't want to buy all those DLCs worth a couple $100. Jesus. The next DLC is Dorado, which was released on the 26th of February 2015. Dorado allows a player to design custom nations with a newly added nation designer. These nations can be modified in every aspect, which includes religion, ideas, traditions, color of your country, and all of that. Furthermore, this DLC improves the way that exploration works by adding the option for explorers and conquistadors to automatically explore certain areas rather than having them move to each province by yourself. It also adds some new events, ideas, and mechanics to the natives in Central and South America, as well as adding some events to colonization itself for mainly Catholic nations, especially regarding the Treaty of Tordesillas? I don't know, I don't speak Portuguese, Spanish, whatever that is. Would I recommend this DLC? Probably yes. If you really like to play in South America or Central America, then yes, definitely. But if you mainly want it because of the nation designer, then you should probably wait for a sale, in my opinion. The next DLC, which is strangely also described as the 5th major expansion, just as Dorado. Well, the next major DLC is Common Sense, which was released on the 9th of June 2015. This DLC comes with a bunch of new features. First of all, this DLC adds some new mechanics to Protestant and Buddhist religions. The Protestant religion gains access to the church power mechanics, while the Buddhist religion gains access to the karma mechanics. Secondly, this DLC adds some new mechanics to theocracies, which are mainly focused around the devotion. You will also be able to have over 15 new interactions with your subjects, most of which are fun to do and can be really helpful, yeah. This DLC also reworked and edited the parliaments, and also provided some new events and mechanics. Probably the most controversial feature of this DLC is the addition of development of provinces, because many people, including me, believe that a crucial feature such as the development of provinces should not be locked behind a paywall. This DLC also adds free cities to the HRE, which are small nation states that, if they do not expand beyond one province, they do get some nice bonuses from the Emperor and some extra protection, which is nice. Lastly, this DLC adds government ranks, which include duchies, kingdoms, and empires, and also gives them some new decisions. Is this DLC worth it? It definitely is, but most of that, unfortunately, comes from the feature of being able to develop your provinces. Unfortunately, this is a really crucial feature for the game. So, yeah, you probably really need to get this DLC. Unfortunately, that developing your provinces is not a free feature, but I guess we can just hope that maybe someday it will become free to everyone, but until then you probably really need to buy this DLC for your own sake, because it makes the game sometimes a lot easier and just in general more enjoyable. And the other features are also some nice addition to the game, especially if you like to play as theocracies or maybe Protestant or Buddhist nations. Maybe even parliaments with their reworked parliament features. Can definitely be a lot of fun. But yeah, you should really buy this DLC. The next DLC is the Cossacks DLC, which was added on the 1st of December 2015. This DLC has 7 main features, which mostly focus on hordes in the Eastern European or Asian theater. but also adds some nice general features to the game. As with the latest patch of the game, the main feature of this DLC, which are the estates, have actually become free to everybody, even if they do not own this DLC. This DLC allows you to interact in many more ways with the AI, for example by setting your attitude or trust towards them. Secondly, this DLC reworked and fleshed out the Tengri religion, which can be found in Asia. One of the main features of this DLC is that it reworked hordes and gave them some nice new options, which include raising provinces. Raising a province will reduce that province's development, but will in return give you monarch points depending on the level of development that province had previously. The last three features are mainly minor changes, but can add some nice flavor. The first is that it allows some more advanced culture changes. Secondly, it reworked some more native policies and lets you set your policy towards natives in your colonies. And lastly, it improved the espionage system slightly. I would probably still recommend this DLC just because of the diplomatic interactions that it makes available. But since the estates have become free for everybody, it's probably or definitely not as much of a must-have as it had been in the past, but still, it's definitely nice to have and also adds some nice flavor, especially if you like to play in Asia or as a horde. The next DLC is Mare Nostrum, which was released on the 5th of April 2016. This DLC has 5 main features, which mostly revolve around seafaring nations or making money off trade. First of all, this DLC allows you to ask other nations to share their maps with you, which can be nice, but at least I personally, I don't really do it that often. It's more of a nice feature, but it's not really necessary. This DLC also reworked the naval missions. This feature is more of a convenience feature because it makes it easier for you to control your navies, give them orders, and just tell them what to do in general. The third feature is focused on North African Muslim nations and allows them to raid the coasts of their neighbors for some money and sailors. The fourth feature allows you to join or found a trade league, which can give some nice bonuses to your economy, especially your trade economy. But it can also help you defend yourself against nearby foes. The last feature of this DLC is the ability to rent out your armies to other nations, which is described as condottieri. Would I recommend this DLC? It's nice to have, but it's definitely not a must-have. So if you don't have a huge budget to buy DLCs, then you can probably safely skip this DLC. Otherwise, it does add some nice flavor, but yeah, it really is just mostly flavor and convenient features, but nothing that is crucial to the game mechanics. The next DLC is Rights of Man, which was released on the 11th of October 2016 and retails at about $20, normal price. This DLC adds some special diplomatic abilities to great powers, which had been introduced with this patch in the past. It also adds personality traits for monarchs and military leaders, which will give you bonuses but can also give malices, negative bonuses, whatever that's called. This DLC also adds some new events and features and even goals to fetishist and Coptic nations. And lastly, this DLC provides a new type of government for the Ottoman Empire as well as for Prussia, because those two definitely weren't overpowered enough already. Yeah! Even though this DLC doesn't add any necessary features to the game, it definitely adds quite a bunch of flavor to the game, which also it just makes it a lot more fun to play, especially the leader and ruler traits are just a really nice addition to the game, in my opinion. And especially if you like to play fetishist or Coptic nations, or if you just like to play the Ottomans or Prussia, which are both really great, it just adds quite a lot to that and makes it definitely worth the money if you like to play as those nations. But if you are not interested in those nations or those religions, then you can safely skip this DLC if you want to. The next DLC is a Mandate of Heaven, which was released on the 6th of April 2017. This DLC adds 6 new main features. The most important of these features is the historical ages and golden eras. These ages divide the game up into multiple ages, which all have their unique objectives, which if you complete some of them can grant you some really nice bonuses to a country. And golden eras will give you a couple of nice bonuses. Another main feature of this DLC is that it reworked China and added some new mechanics to China and the Chinese Emperor, which essentially made Ming go from a constant Mingplosion to Ming being most of the time the first, if not second or third great power in the entire world because of these new mechanics. The Chinese Emperor is able to enact imperial decrees and imperial reforms which grant various huge benefits to its nation. And it is also able to make countries around it their tributaries, either by forcing them to do it or by just convincing them. These tributaries will pay a yearly tribute, which can range from money, manpower, to monarch points. This DLC also reworked the Japanese area by adding some new features to the Japanese Emperor, in which he can interact with his subjects, also called daimyos. The last 2 features are, in my opinion, rather minor, but also quite nice to have. The first one is that Manchu warlords are able to raise banners, which do have some nice bonuses when compared to normal units. And the last feature is that it reworked the diplomatic interaction interface, which just makes it a lot more nice to look at. Yeah. Would I recommend this DLC? Yeah, probably yes. Mostly because of the historical ages and golden eras, but especially if you like to play in Asia, mainly as Ming or maybe even as Japan, then definitely this is definitely the DLC for you. And the last thing that's really nice about this DLC is that it just makes the diplomatic interaction interface a lot nicer to look at. It's just so nice to have. So yeah, if you like to play in or around Asia, this is definitely a DLC for you, but if you just want it because of the historical ages, and only because of that alone, then you might want to wait for a sale. The next DLC is Third Rome, which was released on the 14th of June 2017. This DLC has 5 main features, but all of these only affect a certain group of nations in the world, and not the entire world as many other DLCs did. These features mainly focus around the Orthodox nations, especially the Russian ones. The first one is that this DLC reworked the Russian government and gave it some new abilities and events. When playing as Russia or a Russian nation, you will also be able to build a new special type of unit, which is called Streltsy. These units have some nice bonuses when compared to normal units, but also raise the cost of stabilizing your empire. The last feature of this DLC is that Russian nations can slowly colonize the uninhabited border regions, mainly in Siberia, without the fear of having a native uprising. Would I recommend this DLC? Unless you like to play as Russia or Russian nations, probably not, no. Because it really just focuses on those nations and nothing else. However, if you like to play as them, then it's definitely the right DLC for you. The next DLC is called Cradle of Civilization and was released on the 16th of November 2017. This DLC mainly focuses on Muslim nations, especially in the Middle East and Persian region. First of all, this DLC provides some new decisions as well as government types to the Middle East, especially to Egypt, Mamluks, Persia, and the Timurids. The second feature of this DLC is that it provides some new mechanics to trade, mainly giving the ability for your merchant to have some more influence on the world around their trade node. For example, by improving the siege speed, or by improving the time it takes to improve relations with somebody. The third feature of this DLC is that it introduces Islamic schools, which provide some nice unique benefits and just add some nice flavor to the game. The fourth feature is that this DLC adds army professionalism, which allows you to drill your armies, which will give some bonuses to their combat abilities, and might even make your generals better. And lastly, this DLC allows you to exploit development, which will reduce a province development in return for either cash, manpower, or monarch points. And lastly, this DLC allows Muslim nations to recruit janissaries from non-Turkish provinces. Would I recommend this DLC? If you like to play as Muslim nations, then yes, definitely. If you don't like to play as Muslim nations, then you should probably wait for a sale, because at least the army professionalism and the ability to exploit the development of your provinces is really nice and a lot of fun to play around with. The second to last DLC is called Rural Britannia and was released on the 20th of March 2018. This DLC, as the name hints at, mainly focuses on the British Isles and Ireland. It gives some new missions to Britain, but also to England, Scotland, and even the Irish nations. This DLC also allows you to adopt naval doctrines, which can give certain bonuses, for example, less maintenance cost, more galley compatibility, or a bonus to the siege speed of forts on the coast. It also adds a whole new religious mechanic to Britain and the British area in general, as it introduces Anglicanism, which is a new type of Protestant faith. This DLC also introduces innovativeness, which can be earned as a reward for being the first nation to unlock new knowledge, and can give some bonuses. It also introduces knowledge sharing, which gives you the ability to help some of your nearby allies by promoting the spirit of institutions to their country. And lastly, this DLC introduces the Industrial Revolution, which introduces the resource of coal in the late game. Coal is a very precious resource because it gives some nice bonuses to production and in turn helps your country's economy. One of the features I didn't mention of this DLC is that it completely reworked how missions work in the game, but this has actually been made free with one of the recent patches. It's just that the special missions for England and Great Britain, those are still locked behind this DLC. Would I recommend this DLC? If you like to play on the British Isles as England or even as Ireland, then yeah, definitely. Otherwise, you can probably safely skip this DLC. Unless you are really into naval doctrines, but then you should probably still wait for a sale. The last DLC that was released was Dharma, which was released on the 6th of September 2018. This DLC focuses on the Indian subcontinent, while adding new regions, new playable nations, and adding plenty of unique missions and mechanics to these nations. First of all, this DLC allows you to design your government more freely by introducing reforms. And secondly, this DLC also reworked how policies work, which makes them way more attractive than they have been previously. Along with the newly added nations in India, This DLC adds some new missions to these nations, as well as some new estates, as well as some new cultural bonuses to certain nations in these areas. One of the main features that is not necessarily centered in India is that it introduces trade company investments, which allow you to upgrade and improve the provinces tied to your trade companies, which can, in turn, really benefit your economy. This is linked to the charter companies, which allows Europeans to buy a foothold in a trade charter zone in Africa and in Asia. This DLC also adds new ways to suppress rebellions, the monsoon season, new uses for colonist and non-colonial development, scornful insults, multiplayer teams, new art, and a host of new achievements. New achievements were pretty much added with each DLC ever, so I guess. Would I recommend this DLC? Maybe. If you really like to play in India, then definitely, because it does add a lot of new stuff, missions, nations, and all that into this region. But if you don't like to play in India, you still get some new and nice features, especially the reform system and the charter and trade companies. But if you don't like to play in India, then you should probably wait for a sale. Unfortunately, there's no sale for it right now, but I'm sure there will be eventually. So yeah, this was my breakdown of all of the DLCs that have been released for Europa Universalis 4 as of now. And yeah, tell me what you think. If you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, feel free to tell me what you believe about each DLC. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.